Hey friends, it's Love Joy Yoga Therapy with Michelle. Thanks for joining me. So today I want to answer a question that I've been asked many times over the years, and that is from people who are new to yoga that say, Michelle, where do I begin? How do I do yoga? And one thing I've noticed, at least in my area in Miami, that there's not a lot of studios that offer beginner yoga classes or that take the time to break down the proper alignment of each pose. So in today's video, I'm going to break down for you the proper breathing technique that you'll use throughout your practice, which will help you maximize the benefits of each of the poses. I'll also break down the poses that make up Sun Salutation A, which is your basic foundation for Vinyasa and Ashtanga classes. And then we are going to string that all together, linking breath with movement. That's what Vinyasa is, linking breath with movement. And along the way, I'm going to share with you some common cues you might hear in classes that might not be the best for your body. And I'm going to give you some cool tips and tricks and modifications that you can use to help keep you safe and avoid injury. That way you can make the most out of your yoga classes. So if you go to a studio that offers props such as blocks, straps, blankets, bolsters, I encourage you, grab them, keep them at your side by your mat. You may or may not need them, but I always like having them on hand. And there's a common misconception that props are for people who lack flexibility or who aren't quote unquote good enough or strong enough for a certain yoga pose. That is not the case, guys. Yes, it does help with flexibility, but it also helps with proper alignment and it can help you go deeper into some poses. So keep it on hand. You probably won't need it for today's session. We're just sticking with the basics, but in your regular group classes, bring them to your mat. Always good to have them. So we're going to begin first. Actually, I'm going to grab this block. We're going to begin first by breaking down the proper breathing technique, which is the Ujjayi breath. Ujjayi translates to victorious. And so this is the victorious breath. And you're going to come to a comfortable seat, sitting nice and tall. Relax your shoulders away from your ears. And just take a moment to notice your breath. I'm going to encourage you to start to breathe in and out through your nose. This is what you're going to do throughout your practice, breathing in and out through the nose. And we're going to deepen that breath. So the Ujjayi breath has an added element to it. And we're creating an ocean-like sound in the back of the throat. It sounds kind of funny in the beginning. You might be wondering why Darth Vader is sitting next to you in your yoga class. But I promise you there's a lot of benefits to this breathing technique. It helps to reduce pain symptoms. It helps to oxygenate your body, to energize your body. It also has a calming and soothing effect on the mind and the nervous system. So I encourage you to give this breath a try. As you breathe in and out through the nose, I want you to imagine, you know when you fog a mirror, when you make that kind of sound? That's the same sound you're going to be making in your throat, except with your mouth closed. So something I like to guide students through is to imagine that you have like an imaginary opening in the center of your throat. And as you breathe in through the nose, you're going to imagine that you're sucking that air in through, as if through a straw, through that opening. And then you're expelling the breath out through that same imaginary opening, creating that sound. Now, I don't know if you can hear this on the camera, but you should be able to hear your own voice, this ocean-like sound. So maybe bring one hand to the heart, one hand to the belly, and start to try that breath, breathing in and out through the nose, creating that slight constriction in the back of the throat and pulling in through that imaginary hole. So with practice, you're going to be able to lengthen your breath more and more. Every inhale, you're going to feel your belly expand, your ribs expand, your chest expand. Every exhale, the chest draws back inward, ribs compress inward, belly draws back in towards the spine. So you're going to feel this kind of rhythm of breath. Inhaling, you're filling up, you're taking everything in. Exhaling, you're expelling everything out and releasing. So that's the breath we're going to be employing throughout the Vinyasa practice. So now we're going to break down each of the poses of Sun Salutation A, and then we'll string it all together with that breath. So coming to a standing. Starting in mountain pose, Tadasana, that's mountain pose. You're gonna bring your feet hip distance apart. This is a common cue I hear in Vinyasa classes is bring your feet together, bring your feet together, bring your feet together. So I found after my therapeutic training that this sometimes can wreak havoc on the knee after years of practice. If you already have knee issues, you definitely wanna bring your feet hip distance apart. If you're a woman, I encourage you bring your feet hip distance apart. The reason why for women, the Q angle of our hips to the knees, you notice there's this kind of like outward flow. So when you're standing together, there's a pulling sensation on the inner knee, and over time that can start to pull the knee off the track, especially if you have weak or sensitive knees. So I always encourage you, start with your feet hip distance apart. If you're not sure of hip distance, a cool little trick, take your two fists, take them between the balls of the feet, and that'll give you a rough estimate of the distance of your hips. It's deceiving, ladies, I know, but it works. All right, so from here, lift all 10 toes and then spread them wide, root down through all four corners of your feet. So you really want to feel a grounding sensation with Tadasana, with mountain pose. And basically any standing pose in yoga, you want to feel that grounded, rooted sensation in the lower part of your body. So calves are activated. Your knees are going to be just softly bent, almost to a point that I can't see them, but you're going to feel this without locking the knee and kind of locking the joint. You don't want to jam the joint. So just a soft bend in the knees, but engaging your thighs. You're really feeling the muscles wrap around the bones. From there, lift your low belly up slightly towards the heart as you lengthen the back of your tailbone down towards the earth, just very slightly. And then hugging the ribs in, imagine you're wrapping a corset around you and pulling the belly in and up. From here, broadening through your sternum, soften the shoulders away from the ears and extend your fingertips down. You should feel a lot of energy coming out through the fingertips and also energy rising up through the crown of the head. So in effect, you have equal energy pressing down, equal energy lifting up, and you're feeling completely energized in every muscle. So guys, I know we're just standing here in mountain pose and we're just standing, but there is so much that goes into this, and this should feel like work. Every one of your muscles now is activated, so you're working together. So this is your mountain pose. From your mountain pose, I'm gonna flip to a side angle so you can see the rest of the sequence a little better. From your mountain pose with your feet still hip distance apart, you're rising your arms up overhead. And when you do that, I wanna make sure that you are not yanking your ears all the way up or your shoulders all the way up to your ears, because that can, I know me, I tend to get a stiff neck sometimes. So really turning your palms out first and then rising them up as opposed to bringing them forward, which can cause a yanking action. So I like that action of turning the palms up and rising the arms up. Shoulder heads are away from the ears. So you're creating space. Pinkies turn towards each other. Okay? This is Urdhva Hastasana. From here, slowly folding forward, you can bring the hands to heart center if you want. Bend your knees as deep as you need to. Come into Uttanasana, which is a forward fold. And from here, bend the knees, keep them bent as deep as you need, and let the chest melt over your thighs. Let the crown of the head hang long. And then from here, you're going to lift up halfway, bring the hands to the shins, draw your shoulder heads back, and you're creating a tabletop here with your back. Your core will be super engaged to maintain this table. If your core starts to go loose, you're gonna kind of go limp and just put too much pressure into the back and into the legs. So from here, engaging the core, I should be able to balance a glass on your back right here. Shoulder heads are drawn away from the ears. This is Urdhva Hastasana, so halfway. Good. From here, now slowly fold forward one more time. Release the head and neck. And then with your hands down, stepping one foot at a time, we're going to break down plank pose. So plank pose, what you're doing, shoulders are aligned over your wrist creases. Spread the fingers wide, really rooting down through all 10 knuckles. When you've stepped your feet out, and for this one, you can keep the feet together if you feel better by squeezing your legs together. Otherwise, if they're hip distance apart, keep imagining that you are squeezing your legs together as if there's a block between your thighs. Shoulder heads draw back, pull your belly up and in, fire up the legs. From here is where you lower down into chaturanga. So that's plank going down to your belly. So you are lowering down, hug your elbows in, and then tops the feet press down. So I want to break down plank pose for a second because this is something that I did wrong for I don't know how many years of my life when I was doing vinyasa classes. And there's a common verbal cue that I notice in yoga classes that tell you to shift your weight forward, shoulders over the wrist creases, and then lowering down. This can put a lot of pressure on your shoulders, guys. So I always like to line the shoulders directly above the wrist creases and never over, okay? So one way that you can practice to see if you're doing it right is come up to a wall and align your shoulders, stack them directly above your wrist creases. And wrist creases are parallel to the front edge of your mat. And then you're gonna step out 1 foot at a time, and notice how I have the balls of my feet towards the floor and the heel against the wall. This is really important, guys. So both heels are pressed against the wall. Hips are even, they're not pushed up, they're not dropped down, right even. Core is super fired up, guys. I'm working really hard here. You should be feeling it too. Good. So here's the magic trick. If you lower down, and watch my heels while I do this, watch my heels. So if you lower down and boom, your heels are lifting off the floor, that means you have shifted your weight forward and you could be hurting your shoulders. So I had to practice this like 3 times before I could get it without my heels leaving the wall. So test that out with your heels against the wall. And then from here, as you lower down, keep the heels. You can watch my heels again. Now they stay on the wall. Beautiful. So that's the alignment you want to be in your plank pose. So moving forward, once you're down on your belly, hands are underneath the shoulder heads. Instead of popping the elbows out, hug the elbows in and see how I rolled my shoulder heads back. You're gonna press the tops of the feet down so much that your kneecaps lift up. So legs are super engaged. From here, we're rising up to maybe a baby cobra. And this is a nice way to just warm up the back. So tops of the feet press down so much that your kneecaps lift. Press down into the palms, lift the heart, and slowly lower back down. One common thing I see also, whether you're doing a baby cobra, like a mini cobra, or if you're going fully into up dog, if you're a little bit warmed up, you can press all the way up, roll the shoulder heads back. And one common thing I see is dropping the head back in an effort to make it look prettier. That is not helping your neck, guys. So I encourage you, whether you are an upward dog or in a baby cobra, that the back of the neck stays long and that your chin stays level to the ground. Good. So we're lifting up. Now coming to down dog. Your down dog, great way to adjust your down dog. Your hands and your feet are your foundation for your down dog. So pressing down through your palms, you're gonna extend one leg at a time into your plank position. That gives you the right distance between your hands and your feet. From here, soften your knees and press your hips back to the wall behind you and lower your forehead or the crown of your head towards the ground. So for down dog, you're rooting down through all 10 knuckles. And I'm just gonna lower my knees for a second to show you a little something with your hands, since your hands and your feet are everything for down dog. So hands are spread wide, rooting down through all 10 knuckles. A lot of times I'll see like a lift happening between the webbing of the index finger and the thumb. You want to make sure to really press down and root down through that webbing so all 10 knuckles are evenly pressed down. If you know you have tight shoulders, a little trick I share with my students is to turn your thumbs slightly out to the front edge of the mat, and that will help to externally rotate your shoulders and take a little bit of pressure off. You don't want to do it too much, but just a very slight, almost imperceptible. Good. All 10 knuckles are rooted down. Hips are pressed back to the wall behind you. Crown of the head melts down. A little trick you can do to also take the weight off your shoulders is to lift up to the balls of your feet, press your chest back towards your thighs any amount, and then lower the heels any amount, and boom, you just took some extra weight off of your shoulders. Good. From here, you look between your hands and step 1 foot at a time towards the front of your mat. Keep them hip distance apart. Remember your 2 fists. Bend the knees and look up halfway, shoulders away from the ears, creating your tabletop again. And then folding forward, release your head and neck, Uttanasana. And then you're gonna rise up. So this rising up, when you go up back to your mountain pose or Tadasana, another common cue I see in classes is round your spine up, like roll up like a rag doll. Because I've worked with people with disc herniation, with spinal stenosis, with scoliosis, or just various back issues, even if you have a good healthy back, I find the safest way to come up is to engage your thighs, engage your core, roll the shoulder heads back, and you keep the natural curve of your spine instead of rounding your back. This way, we're using the paraspinal muscles and not the actual, we're not putting pressure on the actual discs. So when you find yourself from your forward fold rising up, use the natural curve of your back, engage your core, engage your thighs, let your muscles do the work, not the bones. You're rising your arms back up to Urdhva Hastasana, and then hands come down to heart center, and you find yourself in mountain pose. So that is the proper alignment for each of these poses. Now we're gonna string that together with the breath. So I'm gonna come to a side view again. You can come to the front of your mat and face me. And so from here, feet hip distance apart, feel yourself rooting down, engage your thighs, engage your core, soften the shoulders away from the ears, feel the chest broadening and then extending down through your fingertips. Let's work the breath into this to make a vinyasa, linking breath with movement. So from here, exhale everything out. Remember, in and out through the nose. Inhale through the nose, arms rise up. Exhale, fold forward, soften the knees, release the head and neck. Inhale, look up halfway, hands come to the shins, create your tabletop. Exhale, palms press down, step back to plank. Let's take another breath here. Take a deep breath in as you engage your thighs and your core. And as you exhale, hug your elbows in towards the ribs, lower yourself down. You can always use your knees, guys, too. Use your knees for a little less intense. And press the tops of the feet down so much the kneecaps lift. Inhale, lift the heart, maybe a baby cobra. As you exhale, find your way back to your down dog. So you can step through your plank, press your hips back, drop your head down, release the head and neck, root down through all 10 knuckles, take a deep breath in through the nose, gaze in between your hands, and then as you exhale, step the feet to the front of the mat, fold forward. Inhale, look up halfway, hands to the shins. Exhale, forward fold and release. Inhale, rise the arms up. Exhale, palms to heart center. Let's do that again. Inhale, sweep your arms up, lift the heart. Exhale, fold forward, soften the knees, release the head and neck. Inhale, look up halfway, hands to the shins, create your tabletop. As you exhale, press the palms down, step back to your plank pose. Engage your thighs, engage your core as you breathe in. And on your exhale, hug your elbows in, lower yourself down. Chest, belly, thighs, untuck the toes, tops of feet press down. Inhale, lift the heart. Exhale, find your way back to your down dog. And I'm sorry, I just reverse pushed up to my down dog. That took me years to get there, so you can go through your knees, guys, through tabletop. Let's take a deep breath in as we look between our hands. And on your exhale, step your feet forward, hip distance apart. Inhale, look up halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, sweep the arms up, engage your core, engage your thighs. Exhale, palms to heart center. One more round, let's do this together, you've got this. Inhale, rise the arms up. Exhale, fold forward, release the head and neck. Inhale, lift. Exhale, step back to your plank. Take a deep breath in, engage your core, your thighs. Exhale, lower down, hug your elbows in. Tops of the feet press down so much, kneecaps lift. Inhale, lift the heart. Maybe you come up to an up dog if that feels okay for your back. Chin is level. And as you exhale, lower yourself down. Bend the knees. You can come through a tabletop like I mentioned before now. And then find your way as you exhale to your down dog. Take a deep breath in through the nose. Look between your hands. And as you exhale, step your feet to the front of the mat, hip distance apart, forward fold. Inhale, look up halfway, hands to the shins. Exhale, release the head and neck. Engage your thigh and your core. Inhale, rise up. Hands come up. Exhale, palms down to heart center. And that, my friends, is your basic Sun Salutation A. So I would love to hear from you. How did this feel for you? What else would you like to know? This was something that really helped me through my own practice. And I promise you, if you practice this several times, it will become like second nature and you won't even have to think about it. And then you'll be able to go deeper and deeper into the practice of yoga and really understand the meaning of yoga. There is so much more. The physical practice and the breathing that we do are just two little slivers of an 8-limbed path of what yoga really is. And that's a whole other video. And if you want to find out about that, let me know. I'd be happy to do a video on what yoga really is too. So I look forward to hearing from you in the comments below. For more helpful tips and inspirational stories, subscribe to the channel and the red button below this video. So click subscribe and then click the bell symbol right next to it, and that'll notify you of my upcoming videos. I look forward to hearing from you. I wish you guys an awesome day. Namaste. And that means the light within me honors and celebrates the light within you. Namaste.